I'm going to teach you how to stop people pleasing using neuroscience. So a lot of you can't stop people pleasing because you don't know where to target your intervention in the people pleasing mechanism. So first thing we need to do is to break down your chain of behavior when it comes to people pleasing. Unless you can slow down all of this, you will never know where to intervene. And in order to stop a process, an automatic process we engage in, we need to unlink. We need to usually unlink an emotion and a behavior. When it comes to people pleasing, what we need to do is we need to unlink shame and the people-pleasing behavior. So this is how it works. I'm going to literally break it down to the smallest elements. So let's imagine a people-pleasing scenario. Let's use a common one. Let's say that you're interacting with your manager and you have a really good idea and you know it's a good idea and you know you should stand by it. The manager doubts the idea. They're like, I don't know, like this, this and that, and they present some other argument and you buckle, like you automatically buckle. You're like, no, you're right. Like, I don't know what I was thinking, blah, 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 right? You people pleased, right? So in order to stop this behavior, you need to see the chain that happens. And you need to break one of the links in the chain. I'm going to teach you which one to break and which one is best to break. Okay, so first of all, you enter your meeting, right? You kind of tell them your argument for your idea. That's like first behavior, right? Make argument for idea, right? Next link in the chain is manager probably displays maybe like doubtful or disapproving facial expression and maybe says something like, oh, I don't know. So you get that information. You get triggering data, right? Triggering data. Triggering data leads to shame reaction in you. This happens fast. If you have like kind of almost like trauma around this can be like traumatic affect. It like floods your system. It can be a stress response. So you can feel it like instantaneous. You can feel like that, like almost like shocking wave of feeling, right? It depends on what type of people pleaser you are and what like the source of your people pleasing is. But usually there's some type of reaction, a fear reaction, right? So there is a kind of shock to that information. And then there is a shame. Usually you don't think about it this way. Nobody goes around saying like, ooh, I experienced shame in my meeting. People don't talk like this. Usually we say like, oh, I was stressed. I was overwhelmed. I, felt like they like were criticizing me. Like I felt like I wasn't good enough. Like I felt like an imposter. Like usually those are the types of language phrases we use. We don't actually say I felt shame. So we got our behavior, manager's behavior, triggering data. We got kind of physical reaction, right? Physical stress reaction, like response, fear response. And then we got shame, right? Obviously, our brains don't necessarily like, think of it in these little like blocks, right? But you need to in order to break the chain. So the next link is then your people-pleasing behavior, right? Appeasing. Oh, you're so right. Why didn't I think of that? You always have the best ideas, whatever you say. And so then you got the people-pleasing behavior. And then after that link, you have safety, sense of relief, like, phew, avoided that danger, right? And then usually later on when you actually process this, you'll have maybe even like doubt and more shame or even frustration at yourself for doing it again, right? So this actually applies to all self-sabotaging behaviors. You need to slow it down and see all of the little links in the chain. And now you might be wondering like, well, which link do I break? Okay, so the link that you need to break is the link between shame and behavior, right? And so you will have that like that affect, that like strong emotion, like, oh no, I've been found out. Like they think my idea is horrible, or, like they think I'm an idiot, whatever. And then you have that really strong emotional reaction. You feel it. Like, it's like, like it's almost like when a car almost hits you or something, like you're like, oh my God, like, right? Depending on the type of person you are, you might not experience it exactly like this, but you have some type of fear reaction, right? So that fear is linked to shame. And you need to not engage in the people-pleasing behavior. You need to have an alternative behavior ready, because when you're in this state, you will not be able to be trusted. Like, you will automatically want to go straight to your next link, right? Your automatic link, the one that you've trained so well in your brain over probably decades. But what you need is what we call opposite action. You need to have a behavior that is the opposite of that people-pleasing behavior. In many cases, what can be helpful is to stall for time, right? Because a lot of us can't just like automatically like present a different argument right in that moment. So you can ask your manager, be like, okay, like I totally understand what you're coming from. Can I have a little bit of time and to consider this so that I can make the best possible solution for our team, right? So things like that. You need to have a behavior ready that is not your people-pleasing behavior, that you know you are going to practice engaging in. It can even be a phrase. You can have a phrase ready, like, oh, hey, that makes a lot of sense, but I would like to kind of discuss some of the good points of my plan, things like that, right? You need to have it ready. You need to practice the opposite behavior. Every time you do that, you're teaching yourself, you don't need to people please in order to stay safe anymore. You don't need to do this anymore. And the reason it's so hard to break is because it's automatic, like it's a habit, you've instilled it. And every single time you do it, you're teaching yourself, I still need to do it because look at that, I'm still safe. Right? And so you need to sort of like engage in almost like an exposure therapy to this behavior and limit the amounts of time that you use it and break that link. It's really hard to break until you have it all mapped out. So if you want help mapping out this type of behavior, I encourage you to schedule an intro session. We can help you do that so that you actually know where in the chain do I need to break the link in order to change. Because a lot of people out on this platform, they talk about like, okay, like stop people pleasing. This is why we people please. This is, you know, the effects of people pleasing. This is how you lose trust in yourself, blah, blah, blah. But nobody actually talks about like the actual tiny, discrete process and mechanism that we need to focus on in order to stop this. So this is a lot of the work I do. It's almost like, you know, like little equations for our behavior and how to actually in real time practice changing and growing. So if you're interested in that, give me a follow, comment below if you have any questions, and I will see you all in the next video where I will talk more a little bit about this process and why some of us do this and how to continue fixing and growing from behaviors in which we're essentially doing things we do not want to be doing, such as avoiding, procrastinating, people pleasing, all of those good things.